Hey everybody, welcome back to Crystal Cards. My name is Brian Mead and I have been gone for a long time. I'm really sorry about that. The last time I came to you and I was saying that I was going to do a video profile of Inzektors, talk about Inzektors for my next episode, which I intend to do in this episode. Unfortunately, I had a lot come up in my personal life and I wasn't able to get that up before the National Championships. Congratulations to the new National Champion, and I'm kind of surprised to see all the wind-up decks that we did there, but now we're looking more towards mid-August, beginning of September to see what the next format's going to bring with a new ban list. However, today we're going to be profiling a couple different decks. The first deck we're of course going to look at, I already mentioned, boom, Inzektors. We are going to talk about them. The other deck that I want to profile is another deck, and today's kind of a theme day. The whole theme of today is putting cards into your back row, monsters into your back row, and acting a little different. So the other deck we're going to look at is Crystal Beasts. Crystal Beasts are my personal favorite deck. If you were to find me on Dueling Network, my name is CB Master on there. I love my Crystal Beast deck, and so I'm excited to profile this one. Alright, so the first deck we're going to look at here is the Inzektor deck, and I guess let's just go ahead and get right to it.
Alright, so here we got the Inzektor deck profile. This is my build, which is a little bit different than other people's. But alright, so for starters we got our 3 copies of Inzektor Dragonfly, which are pretty standard. 3 copies of Inzektor Centipede. 3 copies of Inzektor Hornet. 2 copies of Inzektor Ladybug. I really like Inzektor Ladybug because she's like a free Hornet. Sometimes you find yourself in positions with Hornet where you are having to blow up your own stuff just to get the Hornet's effect, or just to get your monster's effect. But with Ladybug, it's a free search. You don't have to increase the level by any if you choose not to. 1 copy of Inzektor Hopper. I've been playtesting a lot with Hopper because I personally think that Inzektors are going to get hit, and I don't think Hopper's going to be one of the ones to get hit, so I wanted to get some playtest time in with him. 1 copy of Inzektor Gigamantis. 1 copy of Dark Arm Dragon. 1 copy of Sangan. Works with my 2 copies of Tour Guide of the Underworld, and my 1 copy of Tour Bus. I do like Tour Bus. I know that a lot of people are not fans of Tour Bus, but I like Tour Bus because it lets me get my effect veilers back, lets me recycle a lot of my cards that I like to use more than once, like Dragonfly or Centipede. It also can send your opponent's cards back to their deck, so if you're playing against like Chaos Dragons or you're playing against Inzektors, Tour Bus can be an awesome little tech, so I really like it a lot. 1 copy of Gores. 2 copies of Effect Veiler. I only run 2, once again, partially because I have the Tour Bus, and 2 just for space. And 1 copy of Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. On to the spells, we've got 1 copy of Monster Reborn, 1 copy of Heavy Storm, 1 copy of Allure of Darkness, Foolish Burial, 1 Book of Moon, 2 copies of Pot of Duality. I've gone down to 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon now. I was previously running 3 of these. I've gone down to 2 MSTs for that Book of Moon spot. 3 copies of Inzektor's Sword Zedical. This card's just amazing. And finally the trap lineup. 2 copies of Call of the Haunted. 1 copy of Solemn Judgment. 2 copies of Torrential Tribute. And 2 copies of Fiendish Chain. In the extra deck over here, we've got, for rank 3s, Giga Brilliant, number 20. This is an amazing card to pump up all your monsters' attacks, which is awesome if you're doing your big field rush for game. Also, it's a light, so it works really well with Blackluster Soldier. Levier the Sea Dragon, awesome way to get cards back from the removed from play pile if you've removed them for Blackluster Soldier, for Dad, if they've been DD Crowed, Allure of Darkness, whatever. 2 copies of Leviathan, number 17. I really like using Leviathan mainly because it lets me ditch off one of my Xyz materials right when I summon it. Same can be said for Giga Brilliant. It's not always the case with Levier. One copy of number 30 Acid Golem. This isn't the most popular choice, but I really enjoy using this because it's a huge beat stick and lets me get over a lot of like the dragons and stuff. One copy of number 16 Shockmaster. Believe it or not, I actually can pull this out using things like Ladybug and that Inzektor Hopper. So Shockmaster is an awesome card, and this, you're just going to see more and more and more play as time goes on. One copy of Inzektor Exostag getting into the rank 5s. One copy of Tyrus, the Keeper of Genesis. And, of course, her brother, Dreus, the Keeper of Armageddon. I'm going with 2 copies of my Ninja. I like to use 2 copies of the Ninja because if you can put both of them on the field together, you can remove one material from one of them and protect them both, which is just awesome. You can really build advantage that way. 1 copy of Inzektor Exobeetle. 1 copy of number 25 Force Focus. This is another one of my little tech choices. Once again, I'm dealing with a lot of dragons in my area, and so Force Focus gets the job done against dragon decks a lot. 1 copy of Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger. This card is just amazing if you're running rank 5s and rank 6s. I definitely recommend running Gaia Dragon because you can just automatically overlay it. So if I've got this out here, I can just instantly go BAM and pop that right on top of it, and it has breakthrough. And finally, my last one, the only Synchro monster in my extra deck, is 1 copy of Bryo, because let's face it, there are just some times when you need a Bryo.
Alright, now if you're playing in an area where Inzektors are running rampant, it's important to know that Inzektor decks, they are tough, but they're by no means unbeatable. Now the Inzektors have the biggest advantage in Duel 1 before you get to side deck. It's actually really easy to side deck in against Inzektors. If you're trying to side in against Inzektors, the first card you want to look at is going to be your Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. This is going to negate the effects of all the Inzektors that are on the field. That'll be the Dragonfly, the Centipede, the Hornet, whatever they're going to try and equip the Inzektors to. That's already stopped. It's also going to stop the effects that are in the graveyard, which means like if you're chaining that Shadow Imprisoning Mirror to the effect of a Hornet, that Hornet's effect activates in the graveyard, and it won't get to do all its things. So that's awesome. Love it. Totally use it. The next card to look at to stop Inzektors is going to be Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler should be something that pretty much everybody's running in their decks anyways, but as soon as they drop out that Dragonfly, boom, and declare that they're activating the effect, just go ahead and Effect Veiler it right then. They'll keep that card in their hand, and they'll be stuck with a monster with nothing to do. Same concept, works really well with Forbidden Chalice. Forbidden Chalice is an awesome card. Yeah, it gives your opponent a little bit more attack points, but who cares if you can take away their extremely powerful effect. You know, I'm usually willing to take a couple points of damage if I can stop your effect from swarming me and killing me this turn. Let's see, what else do we got? Well, how about Skill Drain? Skill Drain stops all the effects of the monsters on the field, and while you can't stop the things that are going to happen in the graveyard, most of the Inzektor effects are going to want to activate on the field. So that's a really, really, really good way to stop Inzektors. In addition, you can also look at some more unconventional methods like Macrocosmos, which will just stop everything from going to the graveyard altogether. If the Inzektor monsters can't go to the graveyard, their effects will never activate, i.e. you win. Expect Inzektor players to side into Royal Decrees against you, and hope you have some back row destruction for those. So basically that's my tips for Inzektors.
Alright, and for today's card of the day, is this bad boy right here, Chain Disappearance. These can be a little bit difficult to find. You can see this one obviously has had a lot of playware, as has my other one, which somebody even drew on this one. But Chain Disappearance is an amazing, amazing trap card because it allows you to go after any monster when it is normal summoned, or special summoned, or flip summoned, and as long as it's got 1,000 attack or less, you can banish it and all of their copies from play. So What I like to use this for is, first of all, if I'm playing against Inzektors, going after their hornets, going after their dragonflies, going after their ladybugs is awesome. If I'm playing against Dino Rabbit, this can work really, really well. Just take out that rabbit right away before they can pitch it off to special summon. Useful in just a ton of decks. So I really recommend this card in your side deck. Chain Disappearance is our card of the day.
And on to the second half. Alright, I said I had another video profile for you. We're going to look at the Crystal Beasts. Boom. Now, Crystal Beasts, like I said, are my favorite deck in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! They're completely underrated and most of the time underappreciated. But since the release of Xyz monsters, and with the vast majority of the monsters being levels 3, or all the monsters being level 3 or 4 in this deck, with the exception of course the Rainbow Dragons, which you'll see, like all my Crystal Beasts are, and I can just drop them out repeatedly, overlay them. It's really, really easy. I do also have a really nasty little synchro monster called Bryonic, who gives me an infinite loop combo. An infinite loop combo still legal in this game? That's rare. I'll show you how to do that, but first let's get to this profile.
Alright, this is our second deck profile of the day. We're talking about Crystal Beasts. It's personally my favorite deck in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And this is my build. So let's see, we got, first of all, 3 copies of Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. Sapphire Pegasus is the entire engine for Crystal Beast. Lets you pick a Crystal Beast from your hand deck or graveyard and move it into your spell and trap card zone. So this guy is an essential. Any variant you want to run 3 of him. 2 copies of Crystal Beast Ruby Carbuncle. Ruby is my main way of special summoning and looping, so she's absolutely awesome. 2 copies of Crystal Beast Topaz Tiger. Topaz Tiger can boost up over your opponent's monster's attacks when he attacks a monster up to 2,000, so he's a nice little beater. 2 copies of Crystal Beast Amber Mammoth. If your opponent declares a Crystal Beast monster as an attack target, you can force them to attack into your Amber Mammoth, which can lead to some really interesting plays and a lot of fun, but it's mostly a defensive play. And so is this guy, defensive, high defense, 2,000 defense, Crystal Beast Emerald Tortoise. If a monster you use declares an attack, you can use Tortoise to switch them or himself to defense mode, which is a lot of fun. 1 copy of Crystal Beast Amethyst Cat, who can decrease her attack by half in order to attack your opponent directly. Well, decrease the damage by half in order to attack your opponent directly. Cobalt Eagle, 1 copy, 1400 attack. You can send a Crystal Beast card you control back to the top of your deck. This can be nice for looping with your Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. 2 copies of the boss, Rainbow Dragon. Comes in all sorts of rarities. Rainbow Dragon's a 4,000 attack beater, but you can only summon him if you've got all 7 Crystal Beasts in play. This can be really difficult sometimes if you don't know what you're doing, but if you do know what you're doing, you can drop out 2, and let's face it, if you can drop 2 on somebody, you probably have game right there. 1 copy of Plague Spreader Zombie. 1 copy of my Dragon Queen of Tragic Endings. She can be special summoned from your hand if you have 3 continuous spells, which Crystal Beasts in your back row count as, and can also be special summoned from the graveyard if it was sent from the field to the graveyard during your standby phase by ditching one of those continuous spells that's in your back row. If she does battle damage, it gets even better because your opponent will have to discard 1 card and you get to draw 1. So she's a wonderful way to just give me a little extra power, a little extra defense, and a little extra speed. It's kind of my personal little malicious, if you remember the old Taladad decks. 2 copies of Gen X Ally Birdman. Gen X Ally Birdman is awesome to combo with Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. You normal summon the Pegasus. Pegasus effect activates. You bring Crystal to the back row. Special summon the Gen X Ally Birdman. Send the Pegasus back to your hand. And next turn you'll have a Pegasus to put another Crystal in the back row. There's lots of other combos, but Gen X Ally Birdman is huge, and there's a reason I'm running 2 of them. They're a level 3 tuner, and they're part of the biggest loop of my deck, which if I hit is pretty much instant game. 2 copies of Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk is just a wonderful card, and you'll notice that most of the Crystal Beasts are level 4s, and I'm running more of the level 4 ones than the level 3 ones, and there is a reason for that, and that's mostly having to do with the Xyz materials that we're going to be going for. Finally, 2 copies of Effect Veiler. to wind out the deck. Obviously, she's really more just used as that little bit of defense. I don't even really use her as a monster, but there are occasional times when you'll sync out for a level 5 or synchro monster, so that can be fun. On to the spells, 3 copies of this wonderful field spell, Ancient City Rainbow Ruins. Has 5 different effects. Learn them, love them. The more effects you have, the more Crystal Beasts you have in your back row, the more effects are active. The really dangerous ones being, well, I guess we'll just count them backwards. Number 5, if I have 5 Crystal Beasts in my back row, I can special summon one. That means I can special summon the Ruby and rush up with all my crystals from the back row all at once, giving me 5 monsters and a huge advantage. If I have 4 in the back row, I can draw an extra card once per turn. If I have 3 in the back row, I can sacrifice a Crystal Beast monster and negate a spell or trap card. With 2 crystals in my back row, I can decrease the battle damage that I would take by half once per turn. And with 1 in the back row, your ancient city can't be destroyed. And I can't even tell you how many times I've had someone just MST or like use a breaker effect or try to Mobius my Rainbow Ruins and not realize that it's just completely useless. 1 copy of Monster Reborn. 2 copies of Crystal Beacon. Crystal Beacon, if you have 2 crystals in your back row, will let you special summon a Crystal Beast from your deck, which just flowing out your monsters faster, getting to that Rainbow Dragon faster. 2 copies of Crystal Abundance. This is a game-winning card if you get it in play. 4 crystals in the back row, go to the graveyard, and then you take out everything on the field, special summon a whole bunch. So Crystal Abundance, huge game-winning card. Love it. 2 copies of Forbidden Lance. Forbidden Lance, really, when you're dealing with Crystal Beasts have low attacks typically, so Forbidden Lance is awesome to drop their attacks. Plus, when you have to protect your Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus or something from like a bottomless trap hole, Lance, awesome. 2 copies of Crystal Blessing. This is going to let me bring my Crystal Beasts in my graveyard back to my back row, keep my fuel for my whole deck engine running. 2 copies of Pod of Duality. Pod of Duality can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but I've got 2 copies of Summoner Monk, so if I have to, I can usually ditch off a Pod of Duality. 1 copy of Dark Hole. Dark Hole is really, really extra awesome in this deck just because it destroys the Crystal Beasts along with your opponent's monsters, which means that you can get some extra huge combos going with Dark Hole. And finally, 2 copies of One Day of Peace. I really like One Day of Peace. This card gives me an extra +1. It also lets me set up my combos a turn in advance because I know I'm not going to take battle damage. I know I'm not going to die this turn. Lastly, 2 copies of Torrential Tribute. It's the only trap card that I have in the deck, but with the ability to destroy all my own monsters, send them to my back row so I can cycle them back out, Torrential is really a great way to go. And onto the Crystal Beast extra deck. Rank 4s are really important in Crystal Beast, so obviously we got the big guy, number 39, Utopia, in there. I'm only running 1 copy of him. I had him a little bit higher, but now that some more rank 4s have come out, got some different choices in there. 1 copy of Photon Pampleov. If your opponent's trying to hide their monster in defense position, Photon Pampleov will switch into attack position and drop its attack by 600 points, which will give you an opportunity to see what they're doing ahead of time and give you a good shot to do some damage. 1 copy of Gem Knight Pearl. This is just a nice beat stick monster, 2600 attack points. 1 copy of number 32, Shark Drake, 2800 beat stick. Does require 3, but that's not really a problem with our crystals because we can, just swarm out so fast with level 4s. Also, it gives you a good opportunity if you destroy a monster by battle. You can detach 1, special summon that monster to your opponent's side of the field, decreases attack points by 1,000, and then go ahead and ram into it again if you feel like it. 1 copy of number 16, Shockmaster. Once again, love this card. Just an absolute wonderful control card if you're a control player like me. 1 copy of number 20, Giga Brilliant. 1 copy of Levier the Sea Dragon. Levier the Sea Dragon is extra awesome in this because if you get into a position where your Crystal Beast Ruby Carbuncle has been removed from play and Levier can bring it back, oh, wonderful, awesome, epic play. Alright, number 17, Leviathan Dragon. 1 copy of number 30, Acid Golem Instruction. Once again, just kind of needed a little extra beat stick power so I can drop something big before I get to my Rainbow Dragon. That's actually it for the Xyz monsters. I don't have nearly as many Xyz in this deck because I have Synchros. Stardust Dragon at 1. 1 copy of Magical Android. 1 copy of Ally of Justice Catastor. 1 copy of Scrap Dragon. Scrap Dragon's awesome to combo with the Ancient City Rainbow Ruins because you can just keep targeting your own Rainbow Ruins and then your opponent's card, and then your ruins will stay because you have a Crystal Beast in the back row and your opponent's card just gets popped, so it's like a free destruction card every turn. So that's awesome. 1 copy of Ancient Fairy Dragon. This is mainly, this is for 2 reasons. Number 1, if I have it out and I'm not planning to attack that turn, I have a Ruby in hand, special summon the Ruby, flood up, overlay. If I'm playing a person who has a field spell on the field, I love popping it and going and getting my own Ancient City, because my city is a lot harder to destroy than most field spells. Say maybe Close Forest. Finally, the last card in my extra deck is Bryo, and there is an infinite loop combo with this card, and this is my main way of getting to Rainbow Dragon, so I guess now is a good time to explain that. Alright, so you can see this. I've got my field all set up here. I've got my Bryonica attack mode. I've got my Ancient City Rainbow Ruins on the field, and I've got 4 Crystal Beasts face up in my back row. Now, all that is required of me to be able to pull off the rest of this is to have at least 1 card in hand. Literally, 1 card in hand. But I'm going to go ahead and give myself a couple cards in hand just for kicks. And as long as none of these is a Rainbow Dragon, which, no, none of them are, I'll show you how to do this. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to activate Bryonic's effect, and I'm going to go ahead and assume that I've already drawn a card for the Rainbow Ruins this turn, because I have 4 in the back row. So I'm going to activate Bryonic's effect. I'm going to discard, what do we got here? Another Ancient City, doesn't matter, to the graveyard, and that's going to let me add this Ancient City right back to my hand. The next step is to activate that Ancient City, and then activate that 4th effect again. That's going to let you draw a new card. I'm now going to activate Bryonic's effect again, pitching the card that I drew, bouncing that Rainbow Ruins back to my hand, activating it, drawing another card. Proxy with another card. I can literally just keep going through my deck in this fashion until I find the cards I'm looking for. And there's my other Rainbow Dragon. So now, if I was to go through my graveyard, if you were counting off as you were watching me, I flipped over all of them. They're all in play at this point. If you do have any cards left in your hand, this is a really great point to go, you know what, I'm just going to ditch these other cards that aren't Rainbow Dragons to go ahead and bounce, your face downs or whatever. And then just go ahead and flop them out. 2 4,000 beat sticks that your opponent won't really have a response to, and you're all set up next turn to do things if it even makes it to next turn, because with 2 4,000 attack monsters it probably won't.
Alright everybody, that's the show for today. Thank you for stopping in, watching the video. Please make sure to subscribe. If you haven't, like it, link it, share it. Just spread the word around. Also, just want a couple of quick shout outs. Thank you to the Facebook groups, United Duelists and to Trading, Selling, Discussing, both on Facebook. Much love to you guys. Also, a big happy birthday to friend of the show, Chris Willett. It is his birthday today. Hey old man, get your deck ready. I'm going to kick your butt. Alright, tune in next time. We're going to take a look at the DN format that's completely unlimited, unrestricted, and talk about why, kind of why it isn't that way for real life. Until then, may the heart of the cards be with you, and good luck everybody. Talk to you later.